up.
Yeah, I think the only thing you're going to bring with you is your record and your roster. Other than that, you're starting from ground zero. And Greg Popovich often repeats it. You can't skip steps, and you are starting over. And you're going to have to not skip steps and do it quickly, because whatever the ramp up is to the new season, I would call it, is going to be quick if it happens at all. And you're going to have to be ready. And I think the fans have to be ready too. If it happens, and I don't think it will, but if it happens, the game will not be played well.
Very interesting comments there by Jeff Van Gundy. Stephen A., I'll start with you. Do you agree with him that these players are essentially starting over and that the games won't be played well this season?
Well, first of all, I don't think they'll be starting over, so I don't agree with him about that. I do agree with him that there may be some sloppy play from time to time because of some rust. I think my issue with Jeff Van Gundy is that he sounds more like an individual who doesn't want the game to be played, as opposed to lamenting the state of affairs once the games return. And I can certainly respect his position because I have such profound affection and respect for him. I just disagree with that approach in this particular situation. At the end of the day, what it comes down to is whether or not we're all playing on an equal playing scale, on an equal playing level. If some teams were allowed to prepare while other teams didn't have the opportunity to do so, that would be something entirely different. But since everybody is being subjected to the same constraints, the same restraints, the same conditions, etc., then you know what? Nobody wants to hear that. I'll parlay this into a conversation, Max, about the NFL to some degree. When a new collective bargaining agreement was reached years ago, and all of a sudden practices were cut down, two-a-days were limited, contact drills and things of that nature were limited, and the same things that you utilized and implemented to help you be at peak performance once the regular season began, you were stripped of that. The reason why we didn't concern ourselves with it, even though there was sloppy play at the beginning of the season, was because everybody was subjected to the same rules and regulations. I would say to you that's applicable here. Everybody is out because of the coronavirus. No team is allowed to join with one another and engage in workouts and things of that nature because of the coronavirus pandemic. All the conditions that are restrictive to one is restrictive to all. So when you come back, really, it's about individuality. If you're LeBron James and you're known as being a workout warrior, if you're Kawhi Leonard and you're known for doing the same, the Russell Westbrooks of the world, you're known for doing the same, and that's what you do, all right? As an individual, you might have an upper hand, and I appreciate that. But in large part, it's due to your individual focus and dedication. And if somebody was smart enough to be dedicated during this time, more so than somebody else, those were probably going to be the champions any damn way. Get over it. Let's stop lamenting the bad, the potential bad, and let's start thinking about the overall good. That's my mentality about this, Max.
Well, I agree with Coach Van Gundy. I think he's right. I think that first of all, let me address what you said, and then I'm going to get to my original point about what he said, Stephen A. The idea that he doesn't want the feeling you get that some folks, maybe as represented by some of his comments, don't want the season to be played under these circumstances. I don't think anyone wants the season to be canceled. It's just the reality of what we're dealing with. The federal government, failed to do the job of locating the virus. That's the issue now. Forget about a vaccine. Just testing and finding out where it all is. And they push that on to the states, who are not equipped the same way and furthermore can't coordinate a national effort. That's what the federal government is there for. And don't have the same resources. So we don't even know where the thing is. And that's why we have to social distance like this. And that's why business can't go on as usual, maybe including sports leagues. So I don't think when people reflect that point of view, they're saying, man, we really hope the season is canceled. They're just, observing reality. Now, that said, I've said all along, there is a chance that you can play games. Particularly, I think baseball and football are being optimistic and starry-eyed and not making the necessary preparations. I think the NBA is right on it. Particularly if you're ready to go when there are little windows of opportunity. You may have to start and stop, but get those games in right away. Start changing the format right now. Maybe you skip regular season, you go right to a modified postseason format. You have some central location where the games are played. Obviously no fans, maybe no family with them. Quarantine, all those measures. The NBA and Adam Silver think they can do that with like 15,000 tests. Now, we're still not at the point where we can get those tests for the NBA without it looking really bad. Like, wait a minute, we're short tests. How are we going to use all these? But let's say in the pretty near future we can do that. I think then guys like Jeff Van Gundy would probably say, great, let's do it. I assume I would say that, certainly. Then the question is, my original point, the quality of play. I agree with Coach. The quality of play will not be as good. That may be a good thing for the NBA, or at least NBA fans. The greatest thing, one of the great things about the NBA is because it's not one and done like football or the NCAA, because you can run all your plays through your best players, unlike in baseball, your best hitter comes up when they come up, their turn in the lineup. Because of those factors, in a best-of-7 series, almost always the best team wins. In other words, it confirms a lot of times what we already suspect. Now, this season was more wide open than others. The Clippers and the Lakers, we look in the West and we know who the contenders are that maybe could bump them off, but we have a pretty good sense of what's going on. In the East, it's the Bucks and a couple teams, but we think the Bucks. And usually the season plays out like that. But what happened in '99, Stephen A., when there was a shortened season? The Knicks, an 8 seed, wound up in the finals. Now, of course, they lost to the Spurs, who were going to win because they had Duncan and they added him to Robinson, all that stuff. But the point is, funky things can happen like that when you get situations where it's not business as usual, where there is deviation from the norm. And that addresses one of the issues of the NBA, which is there aren't that many surprises usually. We could have a dramatic, if sloppy, playoffs that I think fans would enjoy.